There are certain moments in life when someone enters your path, and suddenly the idea of coincidence starts to lose its meaning forever. You can attempt to look back through the timeline and try to logically explain how everything unfolded step by step. But deep inside, your intuition already understands that logic was never really the one in control here. This person didn't just step into your life randomly. They arrived with a sense of purpose that felt almost destined from the very first moment you crossed paths. Their presence carried a weight of inevitability, as if the meeting had already been written long before it actually happened. The moment they came into your world, something subtle yet permanent shifted within you, something that quietly reshaped your inner world and the direction of your future. Even now, as you try to convince yourself to move forward and leave it behind, there remains an invisible pull you cannot fully ignore. As you attempt to reason your way through the emotional discomfort, something still keeps drawing your awareness back toward them again and again. This is not the energy of desperation, but something far more grounded and familiar, rooted in a deeper layer of your personal experience and emotional memory. If this message has found its way to you today, understand that it is not random, because meaningful messages tend to arrive exactly when the inner self becomes ready to receive them. Carl Jung once expressed that those who look outward continue to dream, while those who turn inward eventually awaken to their true reality. Right now, something within you is slowly beginning to stir, as if it is waking up and perceiving things in their raw and honest form in this present moment. It is a type of inner awareness that refuses to remain silent, even when your rational mind tries to push it away while you continue moving forward. This feeling carries a persistence that suggests this connection was never meant to be easily erased or treated like something insignificant from your past. You may have arrived at a point where your thoughts feel divided, as if your mind is being pulled in two different directions at once. You find yourself stuck between holding on to what once was and releasing the expectations you had built so tightly around this experience. You are caught in the tension between trusting your emotional truth and questioning it based on what the external world appears to show you. Silence has a way of amplifying uncertainty, and distance can make even the strongest emotional bonds start to question their own reality. You may have started wondering whether you imagined the entire connection or whether it was simply your mind creating meaning where none existed. You might even think that perhaps you overinterpreted something that was never truly there, yet imagination alone does not sustain itself over time. Illusions eventually collapse when they are exposed to the pressure of time. And yet, this connection has continued to remain intact despite distance, silence, and passing months. Your inner self refuses to let go of this person, and that resistance exists for a reason that you are slowly beginning to understand. This person holds significance not in the way the ego desires, but in the deeper way the soul recognizes something familiar and meaningful. This is not obsession, because obsession is loud, restless, and demanding attention. What you are feeling is quieter, deeper, and more subtle than that. It exists beneath the surface of conscious thought, patiently waiting for the right moment to rise and reveal its deeper meaning. It emerges in stillness and in sudden emotional waves that seem to appear without warning. Experiences that transform us are never superficial because they reorganize something within that once felt fixed, stable, and unchanging. They open inner doors that cannot simply be closed again, even when distance and silence try to separate what once connected two souls. Even without words, there is often an unseen awareness that continues to exist between two people who have deeply affected each other. Some individuals carry strong emotion while appearing completely composed on the surface. Silence does not necessarily indicate absence of feeling. More often, it reflects the presence of emotions so strong that they are difficult to express or contain. Their distance is not always a lack of care, but sometimes a reflection of fear surrounding emotional vulnerability that this connection brings forward within them. They may be afraid of losing control or being seen at a depth they are not yet prepared to face in their current emotional state. This is the point where many deep connections begin to struggle, because one awareness awakens faster than the other is able to keep up with. The other person steps back from the reflection being shown to them, and in many ways, you became that reflection for their inner world. Until you bring the unconscious into awareness, it tends to shape your life silently, and you interpret it as fate while moving through experience. At this stage, they are still influenced by what they have not yet confronted within themselves. But once awareness is awakened, it rarely returns to sleep. You entered their life as a reminder of emotional truth and what genuine honesty feels like in a connection between two people. You touched a part of them that had been quiet for a long time, and that kind of impact does not simply disappear with time. The universe rarely brings two people together without meaning behind the encounter. And if this connection was truly meant to end completely, it would have ended in a clean and final way, without lingering echoes. Instead, it continues to appear in subtle signs that catch your attention and in dreams that feel more vivid than ordinary reality. These are not distractions, but indicators pointing towards something unfolding beyond your current level of understanding. There is a difference between forcing a door open and trusting that it will open naturally when the timing becomes right. Your hope is not weakness, it is a form of inner knowing. And intuition does not need volume or force to be valid. It is already understood by the deeper part of you. Right now, something is shifting beneath the surface, and the resistance within is gradually softening as time continues to move forward, steadily and quietly. The heart that once protected itself so strongly is slowly loosening its defenses under the pressure of its own undeniable truth. Whether they express it or not, the thought of completely losing you is beginning to feel more frightening than the possibility of trying again. Patience becomes powerful when it is grounded in stability and self-respect rather than fear or attachment. As this message settles within you, notice what resonates without effort or resistance. Because truth does not need to force itself to be believed. If your inner state feels calmer rather than unsettled, that is often a sign that you are aligning with something real and meaningful. This connection is not broken, it is transforming, just as you are also being reshaped through this experience. What you are experiencing is not simple waiting, but a process of becoming the version of yourself that was always meant to emerge through life's deeper experiences. You may have noticed that since this connection entered your life, you are no longer the same person you once were. Your emotional perception has deepened, and your sense of self-worth and standards have become clearer than in previous years. You can no longer accept connections that feel shallow or love that is only partially present in your life experience. Sometimes a connection does not arrive simply to remain, but to awaken something within you and reveal a new level of awareness. Once that awakening happens, returning to your previous level of emotional ignorance is no longer possible. Letting go feels painful because you are releasing an identity and truth you discovered through this person's presence in your life. You learned how deeply you can feel and how fully you are capable of being emotionally open with another human being. Deep soul-level connections rarely move in straight lines. They move in cycles, returning to familiar lessons at deeper levels each time. They ask for more honesty, more courage, and a stronger willingness to face who you are becoming right now. What makes this situation complex is not the absence of emotion, but rather the mismatch in timing and emotional readiness between both souls. You are already open and prepared, while the other person is still moving through inner resistance, hesitation, and unhealed fears within themselves. Unresolved connections never truly disappear. They remain in the background, waiting patiently until external noise and life distractions finally become quiet enough to notice them again. In those silent moments, especially late at night or early morning, you unconsciously become the standard they compare everything else to, even without realizing it. This is also the reason why certain signs and synchronicities have been appearing more frequently in your life lately. Not to confuse you or keep you emotionally stuck, but to stabilize you and keep you centered. Whenever doubt begins to rise within you, something appears in your experience that gently reminds you that your intuition is not mistaken, and something real is shifting inside you. There is a deep internal transformation unfolding as you begin to understand the difference between emotional attachment and true alignment in your relationships and love experiences. Attachment tells you that you cannot be okay without a specific person, but alignment reveals that you are already complete and steady within yourself. The moment you stop chasing clarity externally and begin embodying clarity internally, the entire emotional dynamic begins to shift and the pressure in your heart starts to dissolve. The connection is no longer powered by anxiety, fear, or uncertainty, but instead begins to exist through a calm and grounded presence that naturally opens the door for possible reunion. They can sense this change in you. They feel that your energy is no longer scattered or externally focused, but is instead turning inward towards self-growth and stability. They also feel that you are no longer waiting in an anxious or desperate emotional state, and that shift alone changes the entire emotional tone of the connection. At this stage, the connection can no longer remain passive. It must now be consciously chosen. This is where fear begins to lose its influence over both sides. The realization of potentially losing you becomes emotionally clearer, and the heart starts speaking louder than old defense patterns and protective mechanisms that once dominated behavior. You chose growth, healing, and integrity, and now they are also standing at the edge of a deeply transformative decision within their own inner world. The energetic direction between you is shifting, and you may even feel moments of closeness without any communication, like sudden waves of calm, warmth, or emotional stillness. Clarity is approaching, and it will not require you to shrink yourself, compromise your values, or abandon the person you have become through this journey. Love is meant to be lived, not only felt internally, which is why everything has slowed down to this more deliberate pace. If this person returns, it will be with genuine intention, accountability, and emotional maturity, meeting you exactly where you now stand in your growth. If they do not return, you will not break apart, because you have already come back to the deeper truth of your own identity and emotional wholeness. You now clearly understand the difference between chemistry and true soul compatibility, and also the difference between emotional longing and real alignment. Something is unfolding toward alignment that is not rushed, not forced, and not emotionally manipulated, but instead something authentic in its natural expression and timing. There comes a point where longing naturally softens into understanding, because your entire relationship with this connection has fundamentally changed. You stop asking yourself why this is happening to you personally and begin to sense a deeper awareness that this experience is happening for your growth and expansion. That shift is extremely powerful because it marks the moment when emotional pain begins transforming into inner wisdom, strength, and clarity of perception. This connection was never random. It was meant to reveal aspects of yourself and remove illusions that were present in your life before this person entered it. It has taught you the difference between intensity and genuine intimacy, and also the difference between holding on out of fear versus holding on out of love. As this understanding settles more deeply within you, emotional suffering begins to lose its grip over your thoughts and daily emotional state. Your thoughts about them are shifting now, becoming calmer, more stable, and carrying a clearer sense of acceptance about the present reality. When one person in a deep emotional bond evolves, the entire dynamic is forced to respond and adjust to that new level of internal energy. Energy always seeks balance and equilibrium. When you stop chasing answers externally, things naturally begin to move and reorganize themselves in new directions. They are also feeling this shift, as your energy reaches them not as emotional neediness, but as quiet presence and inner stability. This shift unsettles them more deeply than any form of pursuit ever could, because silence now carries meaning that feels heavier, deeper, and more reflective. It no longer feels like rejection, but instead feels like inner reflection and self-confrontation that they can no longer avoid if they want to move forward. They are being pushed to face emotional patterns they once used for protection, such as avoidance, emotional walls, and the need for constant control. These patterns once gave them a sense of safety, but now they are becoming barriers that keep them disconnected from the love they actually desire. Moving forward requires vulnerability and emotional risk, while staying stuck means losing something that is genuinely rare, meaningful, and deeply significant to them. The outcome does not depend on how strongly you hope, but rather on how deeply you continue to respect and honor yourself throughout this entire process. The more you remain aligned with your true self, the more naturally the path becomes clear for everyone involved in this experience. Whether it leads to reunion or peaceful separation, it will no longer destroy your emotional balance, because you have already become stronger than before. The soul senses that this connection still carries unfinished emotional meaning that can only be resolved through honesty, clarity, and expression. Words that were never spoken and emotions that were never expressed do not disappear. They remain until there is courage to bring them into truth. Where your fear exists, that is exactly where your lesson lies. Right now, fear is present within both of you. Your responsibility was to trust your inner knowing, while their responsibility is to open their heart without hiding behind emotional defenses and past conditioning. Both paths are now moving forward simultaneously. You may also notice that the idea of reunion no longer feels desperate or emotionally frantic. Instead, you want depth over fantasy, and you are no longer willing to accept confusion disguised as destiny or fate. You now seek emotional clarity and genuine presence. That internal standard you have developed is what is calling them forward toward you. True soul connections are not meant to trap you in suffering, but to guide you back toward your authentic self and emotional truth. You are stepping into that alignment now, and communication may begin to open in unexpected ways very soon. Do not rush these unfolding moments. Allow them to develop naturally, because genuine reconnection cannot be forced or accelerated artificially. If fear arises within you, allow it to exist without letting it control your actions, because it is only an echo of past emotional memory. You are no longer the same person you used to be, and you no longer need to seek validation or prove your worth to anyone in this process. Your worth is already reflected in your growth, and life responds to the energy you consistently embody within your soul. Pay attention to how your body feels in different moments. More openness, calmness, and ease are signs that you are aligning with truth. What comes next is about allowing life to reveal what is real and allowing love to find its natural direction toward you. This connection is either rising into clarity and truth or dissolving into understanding and closure. But it is not fully complete yet. There is still movement, timing, and emotional courage forming for a conversation that will arrive at the right moment of emotional readiness. Stay present and grounded, because the next phase of this journey will require both discernment and inner strength from you. A quiet inner strength develops when you no longer depend on external reassurance to trust your own perception. You stop searching for signs everywhere because something within you has settled into deep and genuine trust in the natural unfolding of life. The connection itself acts as a mirror, reflecting exactly where you currently stand emotionally and who you are gradually becoming in this phase of your life.